What do you want?
I want to help you.
Please help this disgusting degenerate.
Admit you need it.
I need it.
With conviction.
I saw a notice about a waitress job and I was wondering if it's still available.
What are you gonna do? Fuck someone today? You'd like to, wouldn't you?
Well, Eric, how would you like it?
You can think of. All you need to know about me is that I intend to save you. And all you need to do is be there. Stay with me, Giant. Trust me. I'll free you.
Who are you? You're not a reverend. Who are you?
I'm you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sleazoids, the podcast where we go down the rabbit hole of 20th century genre fare from the most influential canon classics to the trashiest exploitation films we can get our hands on, and invite you to tag along in helping us create a canon of sleaze. Each week is a double feature grindhouse style where we discuss two films loosely related by subject, genre, actor, filmmaker, or franchise. And at the end of each episode, along with our honorary Sleazoids, which you can become by subscribing on Patreon,
Do it.
we decide on all the official ratings and rankings for every film that we cover. Patreon subscribers also get an on-air shout-out and 2 bonus episodes every single month, which we've been doing for like 10 or 11 months now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of episodes back there. I actually did the math. We're coming up on 100 movies talked about on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we're getting pretty far here.
That's killer.
And speaking of which, we do have 2 patrons to thank this week, and that would be Drosh Drilling. Drilling would be a cool one.
Yeah,
let me know
we're going
about
with that.
Let me know if that's the name.
You are officially now that anyway.
And
we have dubbed you.
Daniel Dillon. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us on this sleazy journey and getting all those bonus episodes. 2 weeks ago would have been the last time everyone would have... Oh, shit, I'm Josh, by the way. Hi.
I'm Jamie.
Yeah, we do this
always
show.
forget to
Anyway,
do that.
we always forget to... Anyway, hi. 2 weeks ago would have been the last time everyone would have heard from us. We would have had horror author and film critic Mike Thorne on, and he brought with him 2 50s horror films, The Tingler, 1959 by William Castle.
A lot of fun.
And then Corridors of Blood, I already forget the filmmaker, but 1958, and starring Boris Karloff, both these sort of 50s riffs on a sort of classical 30s and 40s style horror that took it to some freaky places in regards to mad doctors getting high on their own supply.
Absolutely.
That episode was a lot of fun, so if you haven't heard that, that was for free 2 weeks ago for everyone on iTunes, SoundCloud,
all the stuff,
Stitcher, everywhere,
YouTube, whatever.
Yeah. But last week would have been the last time patrons would have heard from us, and that would have had us saw us go back to the Outback.
Yeah.
For the third
Back
time
to
so
Australia.
far on the show. I don't know how this happened, but we have a couple Australian listeners and patrons, I think, that really push this stuff.
We're doing it for you guys.
We went back to Australia and we took a look at Wake in Fright, 1971 by Ted Kotcheff.
Extremely good.
Lots of kangaroo murder.
Yeah, that part wasn't as entertaining, but the rest of it, yeah.
And we paired it with 1976 Mad Dog Morgan.
Yeah, watch a man grow a fantastic beard.
Yeah,
as the time goes.
Compares it to Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And then, a little biopic-y, but still some good exploitation fun in there a little
Definitely,
bit.
yeah.
Seeing an Australian Western like that.
Yeah, it was
pretty,
very cool.
pretty brutal.
Also starring an Irishman. A lot of,
just
a lot of
accents. Irish and Australian accents
a lot of weirdness
combined.
in that movie.
And then some, there's one dude who gets his head like cleanly blown off in the opening. So that was 1 week ago for patrons over there. Again, that's sleazoids.com/sleazoids.com, patreon.com/sleazoids podcast. Sorry, I just got off of work. Everyone leave me alone.
We're exhausted.
That being said, we're going to be moving on right now. We have another special guest on for you guys. We have a writer and editor for all kinds of horror-based websites, including a lot of you guys I'm sure have heard of. Dread Central, F This Movie, places as such. And also the co-host of the Screamcast, which is a horror movie podcast, and a couple of other... Anyway, she's into all kinds of horror and exploitation is what I'm saying.
Perfect for this show.
And she's perfect. That is Stephanie Crawford. Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
Is there anything we missed? What else do you do that's really cool?
I do nothing cool.
Damn.
Got a cat.
Sorry to call you out, I guess.
I live in
Put you on the
I live
spot.
in Las Vegas. That's a little sleepy.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's definitely cool.
Well, Stephanie, what films have you brought with you this week, and why did you pair them together?
Okay, this week we are covering Crimes of Passion from Ken Russell. And the other one is known as Olivia. It's also known as Prosy. It's also known as Double Jeopardy. And I think it's also known as Sins of Desire.
Yeah, the poster says Mad Night on it, too. We love this shit. We love it. Every time there's a movie with like 4 titles, it's the best thing.
Yeah, the more titles, the better. Because I just like to choose then. I'd be like, that's the favorite one, so that's what it's called now.
The only surprising thing is that the director is from Germany and not Italy with all those names. That surprises me.
Yeah. Well, I find, don't they usually do that when it's
A foreign film. A lot of the Italians, they'll
Yeah.
have 2 different names for the film, and then they'll send it over to America, and they'll have 2 different American names for the
Yeah,
film.
it's great.
It's a great time.
becoming my favorite part of the show, honestly.
But why?
I'm glad I picked one then.
Yeah.
So why these 2 specifically together? What's the double feature?
Well, the main theme that makes it a great double feature is it's about blonde wigs with bangs.
Perfect.
Yep.
I mean, that's
That was the thing I noticed the most, for sure.
Oh, and it happens to be on Ladies of the Evening, hookers, if you will. I guess that's a big part of both of them as well.
Definitely.
But they are very strong wig movies.
Absolutely, to both of those things. And we were glad that you brought another Ken Russell on, because we actually, I've only done one Ken Russell so far, and that was The Devils,
Yeah.
and it was our favorite discovery that we've made on the show.
It's crazy
for us,
good.
because we both watched it for the first time for the show, and we were
Yeah.
completely blown away. So we were very excited when we had a chance to do another Ken Russell.
Yeah, because we know this guy's
So
a
that
madman.
that was full stop your first Ken Russell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Just went full
That's
for
great
it.
because this is very different from The Devil.
Yes.
Yep.
You got a little taste.
But speaking of which, I guess we'll just jump right into Ken Russell's. We're going to be doing Crimes of Passion.
Yeah, let's do it.
They are outlaws. But their crimes are crimes of passion. The star of Body Heat and Romancing the Stone, Kathleen Turner. Anthony Perkins creating an unforgettable role of menacing power. And introducing John Laughlin. Never before have 2 adults consented to so much. Crimes of Passion, the most talked about movie of the year.
All right, we are talking Crimes of Passion, the 1984.
Isn't it Passions of Crime, or is it Crime
No,
of Passions?
Crimes of Passion.
Oh man,
What are you talking about? Right
I don't
now?
even
Did you
know.
write that?
I don't even know
Dude,
why.
you get a spoonerism right off the
Dude,
top.
That's what I'm saying. We're starting the show off strong, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at that research.
I don't even
Jamie
know
is
what
just.
I don't even know why I put that in my notes right now. Everyone.
I had like multiple titles, but wow.
Yeah, see that maybe it was just confusing. That's what we'll go with.
People are pretty passionate.
That's
about
what we'll go
crime.
with. I got confused with multiple titles.
All right.
Let's continue, everybody.
Well, it is a 1984 erotic thriller directed by Ken Russell and starring Kathleen Turner and the legendary Anthony Perkins, and also John Lawlin or John McLaughlin. I assume that's right. We're bad with names too. It doesn't matter. It's fine. We're moving on already. Look at that. Look at that segue. But it stars Kathleen Turner as a lady named Joanna Crane, who, as the premise goes, lives a double life. During the day, she is a high-end fashion designer, but at night, she is a high-class prostitute named China Blue.
yes.
As she is accused for corporate espionage, Bobby Grady. What a name. Bobby Grady. It's a very childlike name.
You just know he's a square with that name.
Exactly. Bobby Grady is hired to shadow her. However, unfortunately, they end up kind of digging each other and having a
Yeah.
bit of an affair. Meanwhile, in the background, there's Anthony Perkins, who is a completely psychotic
Unhinged.
priest.
Yeah, like this performance was
Who begins
incredible
to,
to
stalk
watch.
Kathleen.
Yeah.
Or Joanna, or China Blue. Multiple names.
Yeah. It seems almost too like at the beginning of his character, he kind of has an arc where now I didn't trust him, obviously, but I thought there might be some hope in his character, and he wasn't going to go down the path that he does eventually, because there's some real darkness to this guy that he kind of almost tries to make it. Tries to sell it as goodness, like he wants to save her and things like that, you know?
Well, I would say this is the one element, he's the one element of this film that I recognized from The Devil's Ken Russell.
Sure, yeah.
Because his is very much he can't reconcile his own bodily desires with his faith. And that's like a big thing, obviously, in The Devils, of this like very sort of violently repressed sexuality.
Right.
And he has something sort of similar, where he's constantly. I mean, I love the scene where she, you know, after he's been stalking her for a while, and she's kind of been teasing him and playing games with him, and she does it as a.
She gets a kick out of it.
Well,
seems,
yeah,
right?
it's seemingly she doesn't need the money because she makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
So she does it for more personal reasons, which we'll get into as we get into the actual film itself. But the scene where she pulls out all of the stuff out of his bag, and she's just like, he's talking about how much he wants to save her and how much, you know, he just wants to help everyone. And then he's got like a
dildo knife.
Well, yeah, I guess that's right. but
right.
I
According to my notes.
I was blown away by the boob pacifier.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A little bit.
And he's so unashamed about all of it, too.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, of course, you know. Never know what the night will bring.
What modern man doesn't carry a licorice whip in his bag, you know?
Exactly.
I love that she just takes a bite out of casually. That's very trusting. That's a trust he did not earn.
Exactly. But Stephanie, maybe you want to walk us through maybe the early scenes here?
Okay. Yeah, so we're set up with China Blue, and she is kind of an amazing film portrayal of a prostitute. She's very confident. She looks amazing. She almost looks like a cartoon character with the blue eyeshadow and the blue dress. She looks absolutely perfect, but incredibly strong. And she has a sense of fun with it as well. It seems like she probably has a closet full of like 500 costumes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think the stewardess was my favorite.
Well, I mean, she starts this one as Miss Liberty, right? That's the opening one.
Her introduction was fantastic.
What a way he has to introduce the character with like a beautiful acceptance speech, Miss Liberty, because of course they can't use Miss America. And then the camera slowly pans down and you see a guy between her legs just worshipfully looking up at her. Yeah.
And it's this perfectly symmetrical shot with her legs just completely in the air.
Yeah.
And she's milking the fantasy element of it, which is a big thing for her, is that she's as she says it, she is creating a truth for everyone. So I'm very interested in what that guy wanted, because clearly she's putting on the show for him, and I'm like, that the dude's just very patriotic. Or
that's what I was confused about that too, because I was just kind of like, wait, this is a prostitute, right? So this guy paid to hear a liberty speech. All right. I mean,
I assumed he would watch like the Miss America pageants and be like, whoa, those are the most beautiful women in the world.
That sounds exactly right, actually. I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I believe that. But interestingly, this is the first moment where we get a bit of that Ken Russell psychological element, where during this sex there is these sort of very sharp cuts to paintings and drawings of very exaggerated sexual portrayals.
Yes. The biggest penis I've ever seen. Yeah.
Now, because I'm terrible and I didn't do my research, I didn't look up who actually made that art and what it means. I'm sure they actually thought about the art that they were choosing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my brain just kind of went, blowjobs happening right now. We can't show that. So here's kind of like
but she's also got those drawings on her wall and stuff too, right? In her home.
Okay.
So it's like
in her apartment.
It's definitely something to do with her as a character where it's almost like she has like a distance from the sex is what I read it as.
Sure.
Which is that she sees it as something that is done, something that is visualized and put on the wall, even in the act that she's performing in it. And like, again, the filmmaking here is very, very colorful and sweaty in a way where like you're very much noticing
blues and reds. And
you're just very much noticing like skin and these people rubbing up against each other and stuff. Like there's no way to separate the fact that this is a very close, intimate interaction. And immediately her head goes to, these aren't even people. These are just drawings.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. Yeah, later in the film, when she starts building a relationship with Bobby, who is the guy who's sent to spy on her, but then they kind of fall for each other. I'm skipping ahead a little bit.
We do that all the time. It's okay.
Okay.
Jump around.
He finds out her, I guess, day job, what her real name is, and he arrives at her apartment, which is a pretty... as someone who really values her privacy, I really felt for her during that. But when he came in, she has, like, right in the opening of her home, erotic art. And he just kind of looked around and was like, hey, nice place. And she's like, yeah, I'm never horny here. And I thought that was such a great line. And that perfectly sums up what you were saying. It is like her tool of detachment.
That's definitely what it read like to me, because she isn't, her whole thing is that this isn't an act of intimacy for her. It is for the other people involved, which is kind of what gets tricky.
Yeah.
And that's eventually what happens when Bobby and her start kind of getting together, and Bobby actually, he doesn't want his own selfish fantasy. He kind of wants the other person to be happy
he wanted to
in a
please
way.
China Blue, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So then she gets the two worlds kind of mixed up in this really tangible way that really messes with her head.
Now, is this the first sex scene that they have that's kind of... there's almost like a mix of raunchiness. It's like the silhouette. Am I wrong here?
Well, yeah, it's that very slow, jazzy, classic Hollywood lovemaking, and then immediately switches over to like some prog rock for like this full blown colored silhouette sex in all these positions.
Yeah, what I liked about this was that it kind of had that mix between, because I think it was the first time that she actually maybe felt something intimate, but there was still half of her that was, struggling with that. So I felt like there was still those reds and blues that would come from kind of the street life or whatever. But then later on, when they do it again, it's like a completely clear lighting. And it's almost as if she's like fully accepted the intimacy on both ends. And I thought that was great.
And it's a really awesome lighting choice too, because the neon light, it literally infects her room that she chooses for everyone, right?
Exactly.
There's a lot of like, the room is completely dark and then it's lit up with like blue or pink or purple.
Coming from the nightlife.
Coming from the nightlife and stuff like that. Yeah. It's very primary color lit in a way that actually, having just done Suspiria, I gotta say, honestly, it kind of did remind me a little of Argento,
definitely,
and just how colorful it was. But I guess we should get a little bit into Bobby's side of this, because there actually is a lot of Bobby in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we even open with Bobby, right? And he's kind of in a support group for, it seems like, repressed sexual people. I don't really know what the support group was, to be honest. Like, it seemed a little confusing.
I think it was maybe a sex addict thing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just here with my friend. My marriage is great.
Right.
I'm just sitting here judging all of you. I'm Bobby.
What an asshole.
Yeah, for real.
And his whole side of this is the complete opposite to Joanna's, where she is seemingly completely free and detached. He feels sort of locked in and closed in into
just in an unhappy marriage.
Yeah, well, he's just, there's a dissatisfaction both on his part and on his wife's part.
Played by Annie Potts, by the way.
Oh, she looks familiar. What else?
Yeah,
has
what's she
in?
From?
Ghostbusters.
I know.
Oh, my God.
That's it. I was like, who is this?
Now it clicks. Yeah, now it clicks.
100%. Yeah.
But she doesn't want to have a whole lot of sex, and that's seemingly what he really, really cares about. But at the same time, there's also an American, a sort of like a an American domestic lifestyle that they both kind of dreamed of. And
it's just not
not
happening.
providing them, either one of them, what they kind of hoped it would. And there's a bit
Right.
where she's talking about how, like, oh my God, we have to pay for braces. I can't get a hot tub. And he's just like, are you serious? Like, it's just a hot tub. And then she goes, I don't even really like, and then he ends up trying to take a night job so that he can pay for both.
Right.
And then she's like, I honestly, it wasn't the hot tub. Like, I don't care about the hot tub. Like, there's something that she can't even put her own finger on that's wrong.
Yeah.
And then they just sit there and watch TV, kind of unhappy together.
Yeah, it's very emotionless.
It's
yeah.
actually kind of complicated.
It is.
Because
and especially at first you kind of think
she's just being an annoying wife is what it kind of looked like the movie was aiming towards, but then it did get to something more complicated.
What I liked is that they both have reasons, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like one person's an asshole, one person's whatever. It was like they both had reasons for why this was just not working. And another thing I liked is that when they discussed the reason, which is essentially he feels like they don't have a lot of sex, and when they do, that she doesn't enjoy it. She essentially tells him that she doesn't, and then he feels upset that he thought this whole time he was pleasuring her, and this whole time it's been not awesome at all. So there's like
very
kind of a
incompatible sex life from these two.
And then
Yeah, like to him, and he mentions it a few times, sex to him, he's not just like a horny dude.
Right.
He connects it to emotions quite a bit. And that's why I think he falls for Joanna. Part of the reason why he falls for her so quickly and so hard. And to his wife, Amy, she fully bought into the suburban thing. Like, okay, I'm going to marry my high school sweetheart, and we're going to immediately have kids and move right into the suburbs and have the same friends we had in high school. And, we'll be happy because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And to her, sex is a wifely duty. Mm-hmm. So she pretty much says that she's never had an orgasm with him, but, she doesn't need that with him.
Yeah. Which it sounds, though, by the end that she probably does.
Yeah. And later on, he says to her this great line, like, we were taught everything and we didn't learn shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is like their friends, they have this really uncomfortable barbecue where they're friends. But they're still gossiping about high school things and being super judgmental. And there's just this underlying tension of everybody being kind of miserable.
Yeah.
But on the surface, it's really sunny. And then he sits them all down and he does the most ridiculous thing. It's the human penis, which I guess Ken Russell said was something he actually did in college.
Ken, man.
Of course he did. That's great.
But so it's just a stupid thing where he ties balls to represent balls to his feet and simulates ejaculation. But the reason he's doing it is because his wife hates it. Yeah. And he knows she hates it. And it's like doing the most ridiculous, dumbest, like Jackass the TV show type of thing out of pure anger to his wife. And that's one of the things I love about Ken Russell, because it's never one thing. Mm-hmm. There's always like something kind of clawing at you, even when it's a dude dressed up like a giant dick.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is just a great image.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he could have made his point another way, but no, he's going to have a dude dress up as a penis and shoot milk out of his mouth, as you do.
Yeah.
If you're a genius director.
There's a lot of ways to portray hell.
So while daily life
said.
for those two is a lot of just general dissatisfaction and a lot of sexual and financial frustration on both sides there, Joanna is designing some killer clothes and at the same time putting on all kinds of her daily routine seems to be putting on all kinds of different fantasies. It doesn't really matter who. She really likes almost making people happy in the same way that Bobby likes to make people happy, just in the reverse side of things.
Yeah.
Well, the thing, every time we're in her room, it looks like a stage on purpose. It's completely a play.
Definitely.
And even when you're looking through a peephole at it, it's almost like a giant diorama. It's a really cool effect, and that's what it is. It's almost like the Johns are her audience, And she's like, okay, welcome to the stage. We're going to put on a show. And it's
You're a part of.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a participation play.
Exactly.
Yay.
Well, the most terrifying one for me is the one which she plays a sexual assault victim who runs into her own room, and they had it pre-planned, but the film doesn't let you in on it at all.
Right.
Yeah, that was really...
So she sees a guy creeping on her. She books it into an alley. She books it into her place, and it's completely dark, and then it's getting lit up by the neon, the blue, red, and purple lights into her bedroom. And then she gets completely attacked from behind, and then we are revealed that it is actually a rape role play that the guy's a paying customer, he's a regular, and they had it all worked out, and it makes
so
you
confused.
feel really gross
Yeah.
watching the whole thing. And then her reaction to it, which is like very chill,
super positive. She's
Yeah,
all,
well, at first
she's
you're
all
like,
smiles
oh, God,
all the
no,
time.
no.
yeah,
And it's consensual. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's fine.
I guess that's fine then.
there you go.
Whatever does it for you.
Yeah, and then she tells him a bit of a story, or maybe she forgets telling him a bit of a story about how she actually likes it because her father molested her or something like that. And she's like, oh, did I tell you that? Yeah, totally. That happened. She's like, is that true? He's like, oh, yeah, of course it's true. You want it to be true? Like, totally.
Yeah, like she's not afraid to go to really any degree. Like she'll pretty much do anything to satisfy the
She's a
the
performer.
fantasy.
She's a performer, and
a professional.
She's willing to go there. I love the bit where she's just like, yeah, don't you see the scars from when I was attacked? And he's like, oh yeah, I do see the scars. And he's looking down, and she's just rolling her eyes like come on.
She has great eye rolling moments throughout this movie.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Kathleen
Who's the
Turner. Maybe
actress
we
again?
should talk about her briefly.
Yeah.
She's incredible in this film.
What else is she in? Is there other things that she's more known for, or is this like her big...
Romancing the Stone, Serial Mom.
Roger Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit's voice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She has, I don't know, maybe nature's most amazing voice. Like,
was she the mom in Virgin Suicides? I'm trying to remember now. Sofia Coppola. I think she was. Can't remember now.
It's been so long since I've seen it.
She looks a little different now, anyway, or for sure in this.
Don't
film,
we all?
Yeah.
Because again, the wigs, the lipstick, all the costumes, just phenomenal.
Oh, and Peggy Sue Got Married. Have you guys seen that one? That's one of my favorite movies.
No.
What's that one about?
Oh, well, that's a nutso plot. It's Francis Ford Coppola. She's married to Nicolas Cage in it. They go to their high school. Yeah, they go to their high school reunion. She gets whacked in the head, and she goes right back to high school. And she has to live it out. And she's getting divorced from Nick Cage. And so she's back in time when they're falling in love. And she's like, maybe I should just nip this in the bud before we're miserable. And then there's a Shriners Mason club that might send her back to the future. And then she's trying to invent nylons with Kevin J. O'Connor.
It's incredible on my watch list now.
Yeah, that's going right on the watch list.
At people distribution companies, I'm like, hey, you guys think Peggy Sue Got Married? Getting that out there, maybe.
It's one of those hard to find films.
No, I think if you have the Netflix rental thing. I
don't know that we have that in Canada.
Oh, okay.
It's on DVD.
Okay.
It's out there.
But anyway, yeah, she is incredible. She's absolutely just such a charismatic person throughout this entire thing. And I mean, she's a complicated character that I think would be hard to sell at a certain point, and she does it.
They did have a hard time selling this movie by
did
the
they?
sounds
Yeah.
of it.
I gotta remember, we're the trashy Sleazoids here, you know?
Yeah.
We just love this shit.
Yeah.
Normal people don't.
Roger Ebert did not.
Oh, did he give the 1 out of 4?
Did he give the 1? Is that what he did?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Well, I think it was a 1.5, and he had a few nice things about it, but he kind of now we have this fancy Blu-ray that has an unrated cut and a director's cut, but he's they had to make this an R-rated film, and you can tell basically where all the cuts are, and that made the film worse. So he mentioned that. He's this film did not get a fair shake. I hate it, but it didn't get a fair shake.
I might hate it less if I saw the other version, but I also might just be disgusted by it.
Well, Roger Ebert also liked Speed 2, so I mean, there you go.
Did he?
Yeah, he like 3 out of 4'd it, I think.
Damn.
It's one of the most like infamous things.
Good old Roger. But I guess so. While sort of because the plot that connects Bobby and Joanna is I mean, there's not much of it there. It's really just he takes a night job, and that night job is being an investigator for one of his buddy's company.
I just love what a Brian De Palma job that is. Like, I do surveillance by night, electronics by day.
Yeah.
Yep.
What? My first client is a beautiful prostitute. Okay.
Does it even say that this guy has background in this kind of field?
No.
Or is he just like, I'm going to start
he's like, you were great
investigating?
at hide and seek when we were kids, man. I think you got this.
You got this, man.
You got that camera at home,
you got
bro?
a notepad, right? That's all we need.
Yeah, you know how to use technology, surveillance. You got it.
Yeah, man. You just you pull up to the strip, you roll your window down, and you pull that camera out, and you just see what happens. And what he sees when he first pulls up and he first sees her, and he's completely obviously taken by her because I mean her look is very performative as is, and he watched the transition happen by creeping her at her place and then following her to so he saw the transition of the two lifestyles right in front of his eyes, and then he's immediately introduced also to Anthony Perkins, who I forget the actual character's name. What's his name? Is he father something stupid?
I can't know. I don't think I wrote it down.
I got it here. He's Reverend Peter Shane.
Oh, okay.
That's his name. And basically, he's just stalking the shit out of Joanna. And we get some really evocative early scenes with him where he's doing that thing where they kind of like you pay to like watch, and there's a girl kind of like dancing in the middle, and there's all these guys who look like they're almost
that
behind.
Madonna video.
Yes,
where the kid is in it for some reason. That's another discussion. But yeah, that's what I thought of.
Yeah, Madonna would be a whole episode for sure.
And it's all these guys looking through what looks like these sort of like almost prison peepholes, where a couple of them are clearly jacking off.
Yeah,
but the
and
Reverend,
it's like the dirtiest looking place too. Like there's it looks like no janitor goes in between
it's like
sessions.
Rusty, and it's covered in sweat and cum and like all kinds of things. And we get a brief look into kind of the Reverend's headspace, where it gets cut very, very quickly while he's watching this, young girl dance around for his own entertainment. And then he has visions of her being killed.
Yeah, which really just deflates your hope of this guy actually trying to save anyone.
No, because
you're like, oh, that's what you mean by saving. Okay.
Yeah, well, because again, he's a guy who he believes this is a sinful place. All these people are committing sin and they need to be punished, and that he's the godly man. He will punish them, but that's all intertwined with his own sexual desires, which he can't contain because he's also a paying customer watching these people, and he's definitely feeling something. Yeah. He's getting turned on. Something's happening there. But at the same time, he realizes that, or at least in his faith, getting turned on deserves a violent comeuppance.
Yeah. Now, you're thinking that that Russell, or I guess the writer, Russell and the writer, they're kind of saying that because of his priesthood, that's maybe where the violence comes from, because the repression almost causes his sexuality to become violent rather than a normal, healthy dose.
Because that ties into the whole he has to save these people from their sins, from these sexual things
and to
that
save
they're doing.
them, it's like to take so they can't sin anymore. That kind of thing. Take from them.
Okay, but do you think he fully bought into that himself? Because Ken Russell, he is great at Catholic guilt and portraying that in very intense ways. That sweaty, scary Catholic guilt, which Anthony Perkins completely personifies here.
Oh yeah.
But what he was originally going to be like an obsessed film fan. Like it was going to be like movie posters everywhere. But then he saw like evangelists and like preachers on TV, and he's British, so he was seeing this on American TV, and he was like, "What the hell is going on here?" And I think, I don't know, I feel like became commingled. Like there is obviously that suppression, but the same token, he's super performative and he can snap in and out. And he even has lines where
he's kind of all over the place for sure.
Yeah, China Blue will call him out and she's like, you know, we're both acting, we're both pretending. At least I'm more honest, you know, I'm not going around judging people. And he's like, well, yeah, you're right, but you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, and I mean, we even see a lot of that at the end when he's kind of just going back and forth between like the sporadic murder kind of thing, and then he's saying, you know, at one point he's like begging her to take him out, and then he changes his mind again, and he's like, you know, too late or last rites or whatever he says before he busts out the door and all that.
Too late, but last rites would have actually been really good.
Yeah. That was one of the best moments when he just goes last rites and then kicks open the door. I lost my mind.
Oh, there's so many great
If
lines.
anyone's
in this movie.
especially from
working
him,
on
man.
the remake, tap this guy, man. He's got it.
Yes.
Last right.
I
Last
love
rites.
the one prostitute who comes up to Bobby while he's in his car and is like, how about a shot of the Grand Canyon? And then
Yeah.
And what was that line? What was that other line that you wrote down that we were talking about before the show?
Oh,
It's
I
so
never forget
funny.
a face, especially if I've sat on it.
What a great
Yeah.
line.
The best line in the movie, I think. It's so good.
And that's to Anthony Perkins. And he reacts like, that's right. So you never know where this guy is.
Yeah, it's true. He's totally unhinged in this film.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
he's definitely operating in like this weird, dreamy, sleazy porn reality that definitely could exist because, I mean, I could see him being like a hardcore porn fan or something like that.
Absolutely.
Who's just trying.
Oh,
I mean, he
I'm
pretty
sorry.
much
That
is.
reminded me of maybe my favorite China Blue line. And it was to him.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Heal thyself, pimp shit. That was like John Waters stuff right there. That made me so happy.
That is good. That was, I guess, one of my favorite parts of this movie was the dialogue. It rode this line between like some of it was like
heightened
cheesy and kind of
stylized,
porno
yeah.
or whatever, but because they had good writers behind it and actually coming up with, you know, some more creative things rather than just the same old innuendos.
Yeah.
It came off genuinely funny and had some charm, and it was awesome. I didn't ironically enjoy these lines, you know what I mean?
Right.
They
Barry,
fit well with
Barry
the tone.
Sandler wrote it, and he's openly gay, and he's won like awards from GLAAD for representing, and and I think that's kind of amazing because it's just all heterosexual relationships in this, but a gay man wrote the entire thing, and I think that helped a lot.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, that actually kind of colors a little bit of perspective on that because that actually absolutely makes sense, but I didn't like actually get that while watching it. But now that I'm like, oh,
that's cool.
And a perfect. It seems like Ken Russell was able to capture that in the filmmaking as well because again a lot of the colors and stylization is pretty heightened in a similar way that the characters are.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, especially the sex sequences and such because we already talked about the Bobby and Joanna one, which is like the really really big one in the middle of the film, and a lot of the fantasy sequences. But it gets a little scarier because we know again that Anthony Perkins is super unhinged, and you're right, and it's a little convoluted necessary on like his motivations for being unhinged.
I think that's part of it though, right? Like it's kind of
he's a wild card.
He's a complicated man,
and he's kind of just hovering in the background, even during the great sex scene where like this is supposed to be a great intimate moment for the both of them. He's peeping through the hole, and there's this huge close-up of like the lens through the door and like him hiding out in his little like makeshift creepy shrine room.
Oh my god, it's the creepiest room.
Yeah, it's so disgusting.
And I guess he has like a little pulpit stand that he can just carry around under his arm and throw up on the sidewalk anytime he wants to preach at people. And I guess Anthony Perkins designed it himself. And it's covered with like really disturbing pictures. Like he fully bought into that. Like he got ordained and everything.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he went full method on this one.
I mean, that by mail thing. But he's a little method.
Yeah.
Creepy, but I respect it.
Absolutely. That's crazy. Wow.
But I mean, I guess we should angle a little bit towards the big climax, the big
Sure.
end to the film, which is amazing.
Yeah, this is what, like, I mean, the whole movie was great, but this just
took it over
sold
the
it.
top,
Yeah, this
yeah.
sold it. Yeah. This
Yeah.
was incredible.
Because there's a big showdown where basically the Reverend finds out where China Blue lives. He finds out who Joanna is, and he confronts her at her home. This is around the time that Joanna is very confused because she's kind of had a thing with Bobby where she's had like real intimate sex, a real intimate relationship with someone, and it's really thrown off her whole fantasy game that she's been having.
This was just after she had that moment with that older gentleman. Am I correct there?
Oh, that's a great scene.
What was that? For some reason, I'm blanking.
Because the wife hires her to have sex with the older man.
Oh, yes.
And then she kind of ends up, like, they have a really nice conversation, if I remember correctly. And then I can't remember why she leaves, but it was a genuinely nice moment.
It's an emotional scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember now.
He's so sweet. And she's like, okay, master. And he doesn't respond. So she's like, so she tries the dominatrix role and he doesn't respond. And then he's like, can you raise the dead? And she kind of breaks a little and they sit together. She takes off her wig and just holds them. Whew. This movie has layers, everybody.
I got tingles thinking about that shit, honestly. Like, that, it's a legitimately powerful scene. Especially with all the sleaze that is surrounded by this film.
His fantasy was like just having his old wife back, basically.
Yeah, like, damn.
Yeah, his wife was too heartbroken to be intimate with him. They still loved each other, but she was seeing her husband die. So she's like, okay, I'll get a beautiful young woman and that'll make him happy.
Right.
He's
and then
like,
so
no,
to
I
have
want
that,
my wife.
and then, so she's got a lot of complications now. You know, it seems like it's not as,
She's a
happy-go-lucky with her as much anymore. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she's a strong lady, so I'm sure she could have, continued or whatever. But
well, and it's the first time she tells her real name to a customer too, right?
Very true.
So it's just the two worlds are collapsing. Her real one and her fantasy world.
Yeah.
And the Reverend has decided that she needs to die.
Yeah, it's time.
Someone needs to die for all this sin.
All these
Might as well
sin.
be Joanna.
Yep.
And I don't even remember the exact events of this scene. The ending kind of just overshadowed all of it for me.
Yeah, essentially, he ties her up.
Yeah,
I know that. And then he just he goes into a very sporadic kind of dialogue where he goes back and forth between him wanting to kill her and then him telling her to kill him and then back forth again. And they're just, he's almost fighting with himself as well as her. It's a very odd character.
Yeah, like one of us has to die so the other can live.
Exactly.
But the way he gets her, it's almost like a great Giallo scene where she's in one of those, I don't know what they're called, just like a service elevator where it's like grated. And it's filled with mannequins because she's a fashion designer. And she looks over and his freaky ass, I guess it's a razor dildo, is in the hands of one of the mannequins. And you're just like, oh God. And he just steps through and says, oh, I'm going to save you.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then I think that this is where they have that moment where you think that one of them is about to die. He tells her to get into costume, and then Bobby shows up, and he thinks that whoever's on the couch is her because it's in the blue dress and all that. So he goes up.
Well, and we do too because we haven't
and
seen
the audience.
it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no.
And then all of a sudden, it's revealed that the priest is now in China Blue's dress. And
her
China
wig.
Blue and
Great
the
wig.
wig.
Great
and the
wig,
wig
too, right.
Yeah, he's rocking it too. He's killing it. And then China Blue comes out in his Reverend outfit and kills him.
With the dildo.
It's just like, I didn't know how to feel. It was just incredible though.
We're going to nod to Hitchcock and then we're going to just stab a dildo.
Because I'm Ken Russell, baby.
She looks super cute in the suit, by the way. She didn't look bad in the dress.
Yeah,
rocking it,
so what happens there is it's his fantasy of killing her is lived out in the costume, in the performance, in the staging of events.
Wow.
But she's actually killing him and relieving him. So she's kind of double relieving him. She's taking all of his weird
she's such a
guilt suffering
professional.
away and also giving him his fantasy at the same time.
She's so good. She's the best. best prostitute in the game.
At the end.
Yeah, what was it? What's the line? I don't trust anyone who works that hard. She works hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, like, do you ever sleep one day, Valentine's Day?
Killer line. So many good
Yeah,
ones.
there's so many good lines.
Well, we might enter the reductive rating round on this one,
do
I
it.
think. For you, Stephanie, this is the part of the show where we remove all the words, all the nuance.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Yeah, you can say whatever you
and,
want. but-
and we've also turned this into the closing statements part of the show.
yeah.
So closing statements and a rating between 1 and 5 for our own bookkeeping purposes on the ongoing list that we are making here. For me,
Are you gonna up it now?
I almost want. I'm going with the 4. I'm going with
Okay.
the 4 on this watch. But dude, I gotta tell you,
I
even
know.
watching it, I was close to the 5, and talking about it again,
Yeah.
I was close to the 5 again. So
That happens sometimes where you just talk about it and then it's like,
I like
oh,
it even,
maybe,
I like it
yeah,
even more.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say if this had any fault for me, I would say that the back end stuff with the at home wife, there's not
Sure.
even a lot of it. I do,
and I feel like it's necessary, but it's
it
not
goes
as
a little
intriguing.
unresolved.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah, apparently Ken Russell didn't even like directing those parts as much. He just wanted to go back to China Blue. It gets very beige in those scenes.
Yeah, that's a
Beige and
perfect,
plaid.
perfect wording there.
So it's just, and I mean, it wasn't even a big fault because I didn't even dislike it. It was just a case of there was quite a bit of it and enough of it for me to be like, I don't know if I really got all the way there,
And,
but
yeah.
but the ending again almost completely did it for me
Right.
because again, it's just such perfectly staged and constructed sequence that matches exactly with what we've learned about these characters.
Yeah.
And again, this is also a movie about performing and staging, so it makes sense. So I don't know, I'm gonna go with the 4, but I honestly think another watch or two on this and I could see this becoming just like along with the Devils, like just another like
Yeah.
Ken Russell destroys a genre for
Just
me.
instead of the old times, now we're in the modern day with Ken Russell.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, I'm also going to give it the 4. I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like, after talking about it, I love it even more.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe on that second run, it might get it. Everyone is so strong in this movie. Once again, those wife scenes, yes, they are kind of the downfall of it. It's not a downfall, but it's just it hinges a bit.
I mean, to be honest, they're not poorly written or anything.
No,
They make sense in the story.
And it's necessary with Bobby's
It definitely
character.
does feel, though, that Stephanie mentioned that Ken Russell's heart isn't in those scenes as
Yeah.
much as he is in the scenes between Bobby and China Blue.
Absolutely.
And, the Reverend and China Blue. Like, it's completely electric when Kathleen Turner and Anthony Perkins are on screen.
Yes.
Especially together. So
Yeah,
it's just
definitely.
like, and there's an energy there that isn't present so much when Bobby is like getting annoyed that his wife is like being like, who are you sleeping with?
Yeah. Now, I know this is one of the most blasphemous things, and we're probably
Oh,
going
yeah?
to cover it eventually.
Oh, yeah?
But I haven't seen Psycho.
Oh my God.
I know. You might. I know. I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
Jamie came into the show
I'm the baby.
as the baby.
Yeah.
He hadn't watched a whole lot of
Older movies.
older
yeah.
films. So we were like, over the course of the show, we'll get there though.
That's really. I think honestly though,
Yeah,
out of
that
all
must
the
be
like,
nice. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman, but if I don't know everything about everything, I get torn apart. If I had seen Psycho, I would be dead right now.
it's kind of honestly, I think that's the last one that's on the whole blasphemous list that I've been keeping. Where I'm like, why haven't I seen this movie? I think that's the last
That's
one
the
on
last
the list.
one.
So
We've done some pretty big ones.
yeah,
For you
so
this
anyway.
year.
Oh, man, that's great. That's in Crimes of Passion before Psycho.
absolutely, yeah. Because now that's what I was gonna get to. I was gonna say like, because I know that
You've
he
seen more
plays,
Psycho riffs than you have seen Psycho.
right? And I know that he plays, a killer, and kind of he's got some unhinged moments, I'm sure. But I'm sure it can't be anything compared to what he's doing in this movie. Like this movie is just he's going absolutely insane. At a certain point, he's saying incredibly offensive things, and then trying to say I'm gonna save you, and then the twist at the end where he's both satisfying his fantasy as well as
Getting murdered.
Yeah, like it's just there's so
Or
much.
getting, I mean, I guess he's
so much to
doing
his
suicide.
character.
Climax.
And I also really enjoyed the little tongue-in-cheek ending with Bobby, where he was just kind of like, after all this craziness, and he just kind of looks at the camera
my
and
sex
goes,
life's
"Oh,
great.
we just fuck each
Fuck."
other's brains out or whatever. And then the credits roll. I'm like, Ken Russell, you motherfucker. But yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 4, and I'm looking forward to rewatching this one.
Right. Just going to note on the record that Jamie has seen all of these films before watching Psycho. Savage Streets, Shock by Mario Bava.
What was the bum one?
Blood on Satan's Claw, Street Trash.
Street Trash. Yeah. The real prestigious stuff.
Driller
before
Killer,
Hitchcock.
Stage
Yeah.
Fright Aquarius. All of these have been seen before Psycho got seen.
I mean, but can you really understand Psycho if you haven't seen Street Trash yet?
No.
You know?
That's why I'm doing it. That was my point. Exactly.
You're smart. You're smart.
Thank you.
Hitchcock traveled back in time after watching that movie because he was like, that inspired me to make movies.
That's right. It's in an interview.
The scene where the hobo rips off the other hobo's dick and they start playing Monkey in the middle
arm
with
of
it.
the severed penis. I think that would be something to see.
But for you, Stephanie.
For me, I'm going to go 4.5.
Nice.
I just love this movie. It's strange, but it has heart. The dialogue is whip smart. It's not afraid to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
It has a super 80s music video in it with like Ken Russell's family in it.
I remembered that one. There's a bit with like antique spoons and they're like throwing them in the pool and then they throw the bird cage in the pool.
Materialistic wedding, yeah.
Now I remember. And they turn into skeletons at the end? Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah, it's like,
okay.
Oh, it's like, have you guys seen the Double Jeopardy music video
No.
from the 80s?
No, I haven't.
Or is it Double Jeopardy? It's like, our love's in jeopardy.
Is it similar to like what they do in that commercial?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
whatever
in
they
that
were watching?
music video.
Yeah, the music
Yeah,
video.
I'll have to send you guys the link. It's amazing. It used to give me nightmares as a kid. It was great.
For sure.
Good.
But watching this, I had seen Ken Russell movies scattered throughout the years, but just recently I've really been getting into him. And he's actually been reminding me of the director Robert Wise a lot because they're both all over the place. Like Robert Wise did great noir films. He did The Haunting. He did West Side Story and The Sound of Music. And the fact that he did all those is crazy. And yeah, and you have Ken Russell with The Devils and Crimes of Passion. And he did this like bright, sparkly musical called The Boyfriend with the 60s supermodel Twiggy. I'm a big fan of that one. He did Tommy. He did Gothic. Like, you know, you can find threads through his work, but I just love how audacious he is. He's a true filmmaker. He doesn't seem afraid of anything, and he seems interested in everything.
Yeah.
And you really get a
perfectly
sense
said.
of that here.
All right. Well, that will wrap it up for Crimes of Passion, but we're going to be right back and we're going to be talking Olivia, Prosy, Mad Night.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
There was another one.
There was another one in there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll look it up.
All right.
I saw you notice about a waitress job, and I was wondering if it's still available.
Yes, I could do with someone to give me a hand. How old are you?
I'm 20.
All right. We are talking Olivia, the 1983 sort of slasher. Begins as a slasher, maybe ends as a slasher.
Yeah.
In the middle, it is a total Hitchcock riff.
Yeah, definitely.
Bit of a drama, bit of a thriller in there, but it stars Susanna Love as Olivia, who is what is this description? What are you telling me here? This description is talking about the American engineer like he's the main character. He is not.
Yeah, no.
Okay, here we go. So it says, nightmares of the past haunt the beautiful, mysterious Olivia, a London resident who begins a passionate affair with an American businessman / engineer. She's trapped in a loveless marriage and traumatized by memories of
he's a
her
real
mother's
dickhead.
brutal murder. Olivia hopes her lover will offer a chance at a new life. However, ghostly voices and brutal murders ignite a fiendish, twist-filled story of double identities, deception, and erotic terror. That's actually a pretty
that was
pretty descriptive description, honestly.
well done.
And I would say that this reminded me very much of an even somehow cheaper De Palma.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's very much the whole double identity, deception, erotic element, which is his sleazier Hitchcock thing that he's got going on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the middle portion of this film is. And I mean, it includes some of the slasher elements as well.
That's where I got that Miss 45 vibe that I told you about. Just kind of
the
like
early scenes.
Yeah, when she was taking these guys in to actually, teach them a lesson or something like that.
Again, I found this actually very similar to Crimes of Passion in this idea of a kind of prostitute living out fantasies. Except this version, it is her fantasy, which is to avenge her mother's death, because we see her mother's death dramatized in the very first scene of the film, where she's peeping on her mom, who is a prostitute in London, having all kinds of foreigners and Americans come in to her bedroom. And one American in particular, a military officer a soldier of some sort, his fantasy is that he wants to be tied up, but really tied up.
Yeah, because unfortunately, it seems like he can't control himself.
It seems like he has a pent-up aggression and violence inherent in him. And what's weird is that
he knows it.
He knows it.
Yeah.
Is the weird.
He knows he's going to go too far if it doesn't hold him back.
He's like, look, I don't want you to touch me because I'm gonna beat the shit out of you or kill you or something, and I want you to tie me up and don't listen to me if I say untie me because I know what I'm gonna want to do.
Yeah.
And she follows all those rules until he sounds kind of serious when he says untie me, and she's like, fine, shit, like I'll untie you.
Yeah.
And he murders the shit out of her while young Olivia is
her
watching
daughter
through
watches,
the keyhole.
That sets up her life real well.
Yep, that's the opening scene.
There's the tone.
And it is sort of similar to how Anthony Perkins was creeping in through the peephole as well on everyone.
Yeah.
It's just sort of shot similarly. I mean, I guess there's only so many ways you can shoot someone peeping.
Yeah. And I guess this one, though, it'd be more like, this young girl's learning about a world that is unfortunately terrible and violent, rather than the priest who is just kind of getting off on everything.
Well, yeah, that contradiction of her mom being like, yeah, I'll read you a fairy tale to bed. And then
happily ever after,
And then she watches her mom brutally murdered by
big contradiction there.
A man who's been paying her for sex. And it really fucking sucks. And then you're right, it gets a little bit more Miss 45 as we transition into Olivia as an older woman who is trapped in this very loveless is almost too kind a word for that marriage.
Yeah. Dude's a piece of shit. You can't wait for him to die.
Yeah.
Can this be quick, please?
Absolutely.
They don't waste any time.
All of the scenes where he's just being like, cook, have sex, cook. Wait here. Don't do anything in your free time until you're going to cook and have sex again.
Yeah, like she gets hired on the spot, which doesn't happen. And then she's like, I got a job. And he doesn't even want her to wait tables. Like, it's just like, I don't really know what. He wants to have total control to the point where even things that benefit him, he doesn't want. He just, it has to be his decision. That's how much of a piece of shit this guy is.
He doesn't want her to have any kind of
He doesn't even remember her birthday.
Right.
All of it.
Yeah.
That's almost the least troublesome though.
For some reason, it's like, you know what? If you're gonna make her you're her entire world, at least remember her birthday. Man, come on.
That's a good point.
But yeah, she's in a very, very controlling relationship.
And what's crazy too is like she even wants to go on dates and is trying, and he still doesn't respond to that. You'd think that he'd at least be responding to her advances, and he doesn't even want to respond to that. It's like he wants so much control that even when she makes the decision to make the advances, he doesn't want that. He's just he's psycho.
Yeah, no, I want to use you. This isn't going to be a mutually beneficial thing.
Exactly.
But she mentions later on that they married when they were 16. I think she's playing a 20-year-old, so she's still really young.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just one of those getting pulled into a nightmare when you're a kid before you know what you're doing.
And it's also, I guess, another correlation to the previous film is the teenage the love that becomes the marriage, and then it's the unhappy marriage. Well, they were kids.
It seems like she's decided that because her mom read her fairy tales, and she had very
simplistic views of love, and
that's kind of what it sounds like she had it as a kid, and that they were basically taken from her in that moment. So she's decided, okay, well, I mean, I guess what I'm supposed to do is just marry this dude who's got a job then,
right? That's
because he's a welder, and I mean, I guess he keeps his job, so that's
security. Yeah. There's some security there, I guess, but. Not much.
But at night, she hits the town.
Yes.
Well, she decides to. We see her looking out her window at the prostitutes, and she's just been ignored and yelled at, and something kind of clicks in her, and she's like, oh, well, they have a freedom.
They have some kind of autonomy out there. Right. So I'll go get me some of that. But at the same time, she's got her mom's voice in her head.
Yeah.
Telling her, filling her with all kinds of guilt about how she just sat there and watched while her mother was killed and didn't try to help her in any kind. And she uses her clients, I guess. Yeah. She uses her clients as ways to reenact her mother's death in ways where she can change the result.
Yep.
Which is
it's a very dark sense of therapy for her.
Yes, and actually it also reminded me of Crimes of Passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again,
these movies correlated
did you
so
think
well.
I was playing with the double feature? Because I wasn't.
Don't play around.
No, but definitely these two most related in the prostitution as a form of cathartic fantasy.
Yeah,
angle.
Almost freedom in a way. You don't normally associate that with that, but. The way that these movies portray it, it's because I guess these women have taken control of that, and they're doing it in a more powerful sense.
It is a thing where it's a part of their life where all of a sudden they can,
they're making the decisions.
It's a form of staging and performing in ways, right? That they get to make the choices.
Yeah.
And either way, she kills the shit out of a dude who just wanted mannequins to watch them, right? That was his thing.
Yeah, little traces of maniac there, and he has one who. It's a mannequin with a grimace, and I don't know why you would make a mannequin with a grimace, but I thought she was a real person at first. And I've seen this movie before, but it gets me every time. But anyway, he's like, yeah, this is pre like the fancy sex dolls that are out now. So he's like, well, she gets jealous, but she always watches.
But the sleazy sex dialogue of these movies just unbelievably good.
Well, and what kind of happens is that on the side here, there's an American businessman / engineer visiting London. I'm not sure what he's trying to. He's trying to.
It has something to do with the bridge, right?
It has to do with the London Bridge, where he's kind of like, I think he's renovating it or something, or he's just working on it or something like that.
Strengthening it, fixing it, something like that.
He's hanging around, and the London Bridge is a very prominent image in the film because the river is just outside her apartment. And the sort of like sounds of the water and almost like the fog and the fog horns and stuff like that are kind of everywhere in this film. And he's working on that bridge, and they sort of meet because he's an American foreigner, and she's looking for American foreigners who want to have sex with her so that she can reenact her guilt-ridden mother murder fantasy.
Right. Now this is before anything really happens. They just kind of make eye contact with each other, right, and have a little moment in the park, and then I think. It's kind of another dominant thing that the husband does. As soon as she gets back, he questions where she's been and whatever. And without there's no playfulness to it. He just spanks her, and it's completely aggressive. Like there's no, couples do little playful things like that. But the way that he does it and the way that they shoot it, you can tell it was a pure dominant move. And so it continues from there. Yeah, exactly. So and then I think they meet up again, and he says this like smooth line of I fix things or something like, or I fix things that fall apart or something like that. And I'm like, you smooth motherfucker.
Yeah, she's like, damn, that's what I'm looking for, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Romance novel dialogue.
Yeah, so he's
he's Robert Walker Jr. who is a clone of his father, Robert Walker, who's in one of my favorite Hitchcock movies, Strangers on a Train.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Which is...
He did look familiar, so I actually might have recognized his father if he's a more prominent
No,
actor.
look them up, man. They are so
I'm
alike.
looking
So
at
if you're
pictures,
going to be doing Hitchcock riffs, getting Robert Walker Jr. was brilliant.
Nice.
Crisscross.
Yeah, no, but both of them are actually quite good.
Oh, and her prostitute outfit she puts on with her sunglasses reminded me of Karen Black in Family Plot, Hitchcock's last movie.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, the riffs are here.
Yeah, everyone was doing Hitchcock at the time.
Yeah.
Everyone was very excited about it.
That is something
Vertigo
that seems to just constantly recur on this show. It really does, yeah.
Again, the blonde hair, the blonde wig,
Yeah.
you know?
Platinum blonde, yeah.
Sunglasses at night.
Yep, it's gotta happen.
Mysterious.
But
I was hoping one of you would start singing it, but that's cool. That's okay.
Now I feel bad because I didn't even make the connection.
Yeah, and I can't sing, so that's my excuse. Jamie can sing; he's in a band. That's his role on this show.
Yeah,
So
I just bust out the tunes.
if
every
anyone's
once in a
gonna
while.
break into song, what was that song that you did sing one time on the show? You sang the intermission song for something.
Oh yeah, it was for the one with the plant, the giant plant.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors, yeah.
Yeah, what song did you
The
sing?
Little Shop of Horrors
yeah.
one. The theme. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I melded it in.
There we go.
It sounded great, by the way.
Hell yeah. But they spark up this love affair that ends in, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be tragedy that the husband finds out that his wife is out on the town hanging out with a guy that she's actually kind of having a legitimate relationship with.
Yeah.
I think we just become terrified for her.
Well,
yeah, because right away you know that this guy is not going to react in a positive way or an understanding way or a way in which even dialogue
Or
is
even
going to
just,
happen.
I'm upset, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to murder anybody.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing he does right away after they initially meet, or I think they even have sex, her and the American guy.
Yeah, they do.
She gets home and he immediately rapes her essentially, and once again it like formed that whole thing where it's just he has to have constant dominance. This guy is just an absolute control monster. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. And then he gets privy to her activities
Right.
and meets them on the bridge while they're meeting up.
Yeah.
And they get into a good old scuffle. Mr. Robert Walker Jr. and her crazy abusive husband. And the husband goes over the bridge and dies, presumably.
Yes.
Or does he?
We think so.
To be continued.
That's right.
And what I thought was actually really interesting about this is that I feel like a worse movie would have been like, oh, finally you freed me from my creepy ass husband. Like, finally we're together now.
Yeah.
But her immediate reaction
She's like, nope.
is like, you just murdered him.
It's like,
We'll sit the hell out of there from both of them.
you're cool, dude, but that's not.
Yeah. It's just like, maybe we could have handled this without murder.
Yeah.
And she books it off into the night, and there's like this dreamy piano score going on.
Which, by the way, the score in this is
Awesome.
really, really good.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that I hadn't heard anything about it before because it was genuinely amazing.
And she runs off into the night. I can't remember if she's screaming or not, or if that was the soundtrack.
Yeah, I can't remember.
No, it's just like wide-eyed, like instant decision, and just takes off.
Right, and then we kind of pick up with
4
the
years
film
later, I think.
4 years later in Arizona, which tracks actually with the actual historical element of this, that bridge actually did get moved from London to Arizona.
Oh, really?
apparently.
Yeah, I would love to hear the full story about that, because I knew the London Bridge was in Arizona now, but huh?
Yeah.
How?
Why?
Yeah, somehow they dismantled that whole thing and took it all the way over to Arizona, and that's where it is now.
That's where it is.
And apparently that was the inspiration when they decided to make the movie. between the two of them, is that they were actually shooting a movie in Arizona, and they saw the bridge and were like, it's really cool that the London Bridge is here. And then that's why they wanted to make it such a prominent thing in the film.
Right.
Well,
How can we work prostitutes into this?
well, and what's kind of interesting is that it's actually kind of like a grand romantic gesture, honestly, because what they suggest,
he's the one fixing
he's the one working on the bridge. So what they've
that's a good
suggested
point.
is that he couldn't leave without her, so he left with the bridge.
That's some Notebook shit.
Yeah.
Eat it, Nicholas Sparks.
Yeah, you got nothing on this.
None of your guys dismantled an entire bridge and flew it over the ocean.
Oh, we built her a house. Whatever, bro.
Yeah, so that's how it kind of works its way both into the plot and the character, and just as like the sort of like looming image in the film. There's constant shots of it, and
and the river,
and the river, and
which
like
is
some
basically
sunsets
used throughout
and,
to hide bodies. Like that's kind of what the river represents. It's like a graveyard, basically.
Yeah, everyone's just like, hey, you got a problem? Walk onto the bridge, dump it over.
Toss it over. Everyone's
It's the
doing
main
it.
character and the most helpful character, I would say.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
a partner in crime. They should have called it. They should have called it something to do with the bridge. Honestly,
The river.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, how is there 5 titles and none of them are London Bridge?
Yeah, like,
Or
bridge
just
to my heart.
go the whole way. London Bridge is falling down.
Yeah.
Just I want it to be
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah,
awkward.
which makes an appearance twice in the film, right? The song actually appears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. But either way, Robert Walker is now back in Arizona, and he sees a girl, very, very, very Vertigo style.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, is that the girl? Is that the girl that I fell in love with?
But he's
Is that her?"
immediately intrigued.
She's
that's for
brunette
sure.
though and wearing glasses. How can I be sure?
Can she open something with her teeth?
Yeah. Maybe if I eat her out in the shower, we can really uncover this.
Yeah. And what I like about it's a little odd. I mean, it adds a little bit of I don't really know what it adds. It might just be confusion, to be honest. But because it seems like he has an idea, or maybe he's reminded of her, because when he finds out that it's actually her, he actually acts surprised, like he didn't know it was legitimately her. So
Well,
do you
because to
think he was
me,
just
in my opinion, he was the same way that they do in Vertigo. He was
Sure.
trying to recreate her before that. So I think he was
okay.
like, this girl looks like her, so maybe
It's
I
enough.
can like make her
Okay.
a little bit like her. Maybe I'll take her to the bridge.
right? And then
Plus, the
it's
chances
okay.
that she would be a realtor in Arizona and they would run into each other, the chances aren't that great.
No,
so.
no.
I definitely think he had his mind on recreating her before actually running into her.
And then he just lucked out.
He got really goddamn lucky.
He's like, oh, great.
But that instant spark hits up again, and they start seeing each
When
other.
he grabs her and says, bitch, right before he kisses her.
So much passion. I lost my mind at that. That was great.
And they're on
And
the bridge.
somehow I still liked him. Like it was like it's a totally likable moment somehow. I don't know why, but
Well, if he
I'm like,
slapped
how-
her after that or something, it'd be terrible. But then it was almost just like a quick expression of his frustration.
Well, because he's like,
over
why would you run with
everything
me
that
and have
happened,
me in
and then-
this sad sack state for
Yeah.
like 5 years?
yeah, it was great though.
But she's got the glasses on, and there's the giant orange sunset behind her on the bridge, and it's all romantic, and they're getting back
And this
together.
is when that score was like
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. I thought this was the best moment for the musicianship for sure. Because everything else is very dark and ominous, and this was like the one moment where they had some uplifting music in it, and it really just kind of it made that scene what it was, I think.
Well, at this point in the movie, we haven't seen like a slasher element in like 30 or 40 minutes.
Right, 'cause
And I
we
was
only
like,
really
damn,
see it at the
this is just a
beginning.
straight drama at this point.
yeah.
And honestly, I kind of liked it.
Oh, me too.
I was
Yeah.
like, this is great. But then I was like, okay, we're gearing up to the end of a drama right now. They found each other again. Things are
Because
cool.
things got to go down.
But then there's a shot of them in the bedroom through the peephole again, and we're recreating the peephole shot of her looking through at her mother being killed, but it's looking at her and Robert Walker now. And I was like, oh no, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And what do you know? The husband survived
and he's been, I guess, planning things
Harboring
for
a
40
lot
years.
of resentment.
Yeah.
There's a great line. He's like, "Don't you want to know how I found you?" That's the only time I found him relatable.
Aren't you impressed? Like, this is kind of cool,
Like,
right?
this is pretty crazy. You got to admit.
Like, all three
I
of
know
us
you're probably
in Arizona.
really scared right now, but all three of us? That's hilarious.
What are the chances? Anyway, I'm gonna
Can we
murder
just take
you.
in this moment for a second, y'all?
And anyway, one of my very favorite deaths that we've done on this show. I feel like there's a new one every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, they
But
get creative.
I will say this is the first time I've ever seen someone murdered by a toothbrush.
Yeah.
Electric toothbrush.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Power behind it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Little horsepower in there.
Yeah, the husband comes up behind her lover, Mr. Robert Walker Jr., and he's brushing his teeth. Good for him.
Yeah.
It's a good habit.
You don't see a lot of.
We're keeping the bar high here. The oral hygiene.
You don't see a lot of oral hygiene in these movies. So.
Yeah, you don't see that
Yeah,
husband.
good point.
You don't see that husband brushing his teeth. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm sorry, I
man's
don't mean to
responsible.
interrupt you. So you find the electric toothbrush more impressive than the killer dildo? I just want to set that straight.
No. The dildo here. Both of these are very impressive kills.
Absolutely.
I would say that the crimes of passion, it really builds up that dildo's gonna kill someone.
Yeah.
like the
The
second
dildo is almost a character in Crimes of Passion.
when he's brushing his teeth, I was like, oh, he's gonna get like strangled or like he's gonna
right.
Yeah.
It took me by surprise. That was what it was.
Through the neck.
I legitimately,
Yeah,
when the
that too.
toothbrush goes through the back of his neck bloody, I legitimately
Isn't
had
it
to
still
pause the
buzzing
movie.
too?
Yeah,
Like,
and it's
isn't it
still
still
buzzing.
buzzing and going?
I legitimately had to pause and go back and play it again to be sure that I did see what I saw.
That was a toothbrush.
Because
right?
I don't know if it's the logic of the two cuts, or maybe it doesn't make sense in your brain. But he's brushing his teeth, and then there's a toothbrush going through his throat.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
Oh, it was good.
fair enough. But it's a great death. And
Absolutely.
the only time that husband has been creative, I think.
Yeah. The only time he puts passion into anything is when he kills somebody.
Yep. And what happens after that? I'll be honest, my brain kind of like was pretty destroyed
this
by the
is-
toothbrush.
She gets in bed thinking that it's him, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, what a horrifying
Right.
moment when she comes into the room and you know it's him.
Comes home like, oh, I sold some property today. And, oh, you're in bed already. And it's him.
Yep.
But you really feel for her. That has to be the worst feeling in the world.
Because
And
you know
he's
as an
like,
audience
okay.
too, so.
Yeah, we're going to snap right back into the old routine, except in Arizona where...
And he's mad
I'm
now.
just-
Like he wants revenge, not just the old routine of dominance, but now it's like, I want vengeance from what you've done to me. So.
And you know I killed your lover.
Right.
And you're going to have to live with me and serve me dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't expect it when the way that they shot it because I thought she was just. I thought the husband just like put the corpse in the bed or something.
That's
I
thought
kinda
so too,
thought.
actually.
And then she was going to be like, "Oh my god!" But instead, it's the husband. And
He just starts like right away, which sucks. He just basically starts to beat her, and then things go from there. And I think like he even starts once again telling her to do things like
cook.
It's getting late. It's time to undress. Like things like that. Now he's even worse than he was. This is the worst moment for this character. So yeah, it just gets unhinged from there.
Yeah, well, because he just basically is like, I'm going to resume exactly where we were in this new place now. And she's like, I'm not going to have that. And stabs the shit out of him in the bed, pulls the knife out of the off the side of the bed.
Yep.
And I loved this bit because it holds on this shot of his like body in the bed just completely limp, and she's like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? It actually reminded me of that bit in Widow
made the
Blue
decision before knowing any type of like what she was gonna do after. It was just an impulsive, I'm getting this guy out of my life. So
when they kill the corpse and then they have sex next to the
in Widow
corpse,
Blue?
and then they put the they just are like, hey, we're done, I guess we'll put it in the coffin. She just grabs a trunk
chest,
and just starts like flopping his body into the chest, and his legs are like in the air, and she's trying to like bend them down.
Yeah. It almost plays for comedy in a way because like you hate this dude, especially by this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
So then when you're watching her like try to
it's
stuff
just such a pathetic death.
Yeah,
it's
that
just,
too.
It's just, and it's so well deserved.
Yeah.
That he's
Oh,
just
yeah.
this lifeless thing being thrown into a trunk in like sort
dumped
of
into a river.
inconvenient and hilarious ways.
Yeah. And then the irony of being dumped into a river, you know.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
No, this time you'll stay down there.
Exactly. Exactly. And I like that they show that shot too of her actually like pushing the chest and making it sink. Like they hold onto it, making sure that you know that guy's going down, you know. He's stabbed already, but that guy's also got a, you know, graveyard with fishies now, so.
They did take their sweet time with that at the end of the movie, just showing like every step, really holding those shots.
Yeah, yeah. And I also love the simple ending shot of just the bridge and the river, and it's just kind of like, this is where it all kind of happened, or where it was surrounded, you know, like where it ended and where it began, kind of thing. Because you see multiple bodies throughout this movie wash up in that river. So.
Well, yeah, and then they come back to the fairy tales too, where you get this idea of almost like that kind of fairy tale.
I forgot
bridge,
about that.
Where
Yeah.
what is it always the trolls or whatever?
Yeah, and she even says something like, because it's she's having like a flashback to her mom where she says you'll live happily ever after or something.
So it's like every little girl gets her Prince Charming.
Yes, that's what she says. Everyone gets their prince one day.
Yeah. Unfortunately
for her, hers was murdered by
killed.
her very much not prince.
Yeah, we can't
with a
promise you how long
toothbrush.
he'll be around.
Yeah, but he'll pop up.
Yeah, you got him for a while, you know. Like in total of your entire life, you had him for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Like that's good.
Not bad.
But over years.
Happily ever after.
Yeah, and we get this really hilarious rendition of London Bridge is falling down, which is a good time.
It's fantastic. I really liked this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we might enter the reductive rating.
It's so
round
much
on this one,
darker, too.
And final thoughts. This one was a 4 for me as well. This one was a pretty more of an easier 4 than Crimes of Passion. I would say mostly just because, I mean, not easier as in like it got there faster. I would say easier as in like it didn't push to the 5 like Crimes of Passion almost did.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But this again was a really good kind of like slasher Hitchcock riff going on, and all of the performances were pretty good. And again, I think the most surprising thing about both of these movies is just that the drama is actually just kind of good.
Yeah, it's
like
compelling.
the
I
actual
cared.
character work is compelling and interesting. And both of these characters go through some horrifying things and get a tiny bit of catharsis. I would say Crimes of Passion ends a little bit more happily than this one does. This one's pretty rough.
Yeah, definitely.
and a little bit harder to watch.
This really is like
in terms of the actual
darker
violence
version for sure.
Well, she just has a little bit less control than Kathleen Turner gets.
Right.
She has a lot more things happen to her that are horrifying, and kind of has to learn to live with them and kind of reconcile that with the.
And you see that the way she's taken that trauma is also worse than what China's gone through. So like, because I mean, she's going out and she's murdering these people. Right. Like as a therapeutic thing almost, whereas China was kind of wholeheartedly into the profession and wanted to please her clients.
Yeah, she's definitely she murders someone only out of kindness.
Yeah, exactly.
In Crimes of Passion.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'd say this. I mean, we kind of just all the reasons we kind of went over this one for. But I thought it was pretty moody. I liked in London all of the foghorn sounds, and again the piano score was very good.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a solid time. 4 for me.
Sweet. I'm also gonna give it the 4. I thought this was really strong. I really liked the dramatic side of it. I didn't think it was gonna have so much of it, to be honest, but it ended up working for me. Score. I
guess there's like 3
is
deaths
fantastic.
in the movie, really. I mean,
there's
4,
not
I
much.
guess.
There's not too much. Like 2 or 3, I think, and like it. But the scenes where they happen are very colorful. We'll say, and so you definitely remember them, and they really make a lasting impression on you. And I really like even the final shot, just the simple bridge and the river. After she's resolved these issues that she has, and unfortunately she's probably gonna live more traumatic life from these experiences. It doesn't look like it's getting much better.
Now,
but
what we need is an anthology film about the bridge and all the things that bridge has seen thrown over its
The
side.
bridge that kills.
yeah, absolutely.
That bridge has seen some shit.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
Nice. For you, Stephanie?
I might have to go 3.5. As much as I love it, and it was such a fun discovery for me when I first saw this. There are some pacing issues in it, and I feel like, I don't need everything explained to me and tied up in a neat little bow at the ending, but I feel like we need a little bit more.
Just for her character?
At the end. Yeah.
It is true that they don't tell you, like, is she going to go back to killing people?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You're like, I hope she's okay.
Yeah, she had such a sea change in her life, and then we immediately just see her relationships with these two men. But like, what, like she figured out how to change her life completely within 4 years. Like, did she become like Jason Bourne and she just knows how to create a new life now? Or something? Like, I was been interested in that, but.
We need like a 10-minute episode follow-up.
Yeah.
For her.
But that's another theme. Like, there's the obvious prostitution theme between these two films, but just how they show how the masks people wear and how both women are living a half life by living a double life. And even though they're finding some kind of empowerment, they're doing that in lieu of dealing with their problems.
Right.
And that bears out in the plot. So I love how it's not really like prostitution's evil. These women are disgusting. It's more like, okay, like you can find something to pull your way out, but lipstick can't bury. It's very evil. You still need to work things out. Or they'll climb out of a river and come after you.
Exactly.
That's really the thing. They should have went down and finished him, right?
Yeah. Make sure.
That's the lesson here. If you're gonna kill someone's husband and by tossing him over a bridge, like you jump in.
If you take anything,
don't half-ass anything.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that will wrap it up for Crimes of Passion and Olivia. Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on and bringing these films with you.
Yeah, these were awesome.
If you've got anything to plug, this is the place to do it.
I guess just follow me on Twitter because I post everything there, and my little website no one goes to is linked there, and I have archives of everything I do, and I'm Scrawfish on Twitter. Very professional name.
Well, I
also like
I follow Stephanie on Twitter, and I think that she's a very entertaining follow, so I would recommend.
Thank you.
Shit, what do we got coming up? Everyone, in 1 week's time, for patrons, we have a patron exclusive episode coming for you next Saturday.
Yeah.
And that would be, what are we doing? Oh yeah,
Heavy Metal and Legend.
Ridley Scott, 1980. We're sticking around in the 80s.
Yeah.
Doing 85 Legend. Tim Curry as the Tenacious D Devil. The Lord of Darkness.
So good.
Tom Cruise as a little tiny like Jack and the Beanstalk Peter Pan ass bitch going on there. It's a good time. That's what we're going to be talking about alongside Heavy Metal, the animated film. I think it has like 8 directors.
Yeah,
they had to like.
It's a big project.
They had to put that out to like 8 different animation companies to get it done. Anyway. That's what we're going to be talking about for everyone. We're kind of going into the realm of sort of sci-fi fantasy. We realized we hadn't really done fantasy yet on the show, so that was kind of the reasoning behind that one. Yeah,
that's true. We have very minimal if we have. Yeah.
We haven't done much swords and what are the lion
We've done a lot of Satan though,
and like a lot of Satan
stuff. So he's back.
Yeah. But in 1 week's time, for everyone. iTunes listeners, SoundCloud listeners, everybody, we're going to be, it's here, it's time, it's unfortunate, but we're here to remind you, it's a Christmas episode.
But it's going to be a good one.
It's that time of year. We've made it. Sorry to inform you all. But we're going to be talking about Bob Clark's Black Christmas, 1974. And we are also going to be talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night, which personally I haven't seen.
I wanted to see it since I was
10
like
years
10,
later.
so.
That's 84. That's after the slasher craze has kind of happened. and it's got Santa's arm with an axe in it.
Yeah,
so.
I'm really interested on what they're gonna do with it. I really don't know where these films go.
I have a feeling it's just going to be a slasher film where a guy dresses up like Santa, sort of like how Pieces. Remember Pieces?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to be like Pieces, but the main guy isn't making mom things; he's making Santa things.
Yeah, gotcha.
70, don't tell us if that's even remotely right. I'm prepared to be wrong.
I would never. Don't open till Christmas.
Guarantee you someone's getting strangled with lights, though. I mean, if that doesn't happen, then what are you doing?
2 stars.
Yeah, 2 stars. Regardless. Someone needs to get strangled by the lights.
You heard it here first. So that's what everyone can expect in 2 weeks' time for all listeners. But I think that'll wrap it up. Thanks, as always, for listening, everybody. And keep it sleazy.
Keep it sleazy.